Welcome, everyone.
Hi,
Welcome
guys.
to this edition of What Matters. And today I am here with KProhet.
Oh, hello, Erica. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. And so his government name is Malik
Days Wolf.
Dayswolf?
Actually, I have a long arrangement of names on my driver's license. It shows 2 lines, actually. So my full name would be Keano Malik Patrick Isaiah Days Wolf. Don't say it fast. It's almost impossible. But, yeah, tongue twister.
Okay, so that's not what I knew his full name to be. Now I know his full name. And Malik joins us today to speak about a lot of the issues that are facing our youth, particularly our Black youth here in Toronto.
Yes.
Now, he is an artist, a hip-hop conscious artist, and I love the emphasis of the conscious. So when you look at his press release, it speaks of the fact that he was born here in Toronto. He's versatile, but the first thing that they say is that he is a conscious artist. Now, explain to me a little bit what that means, that you're a conscious artist.
A conscious artist means, and especially to me as a person, it's someone who really strives to deliver a message through their words and their lyrics in their songs. So the song itself is not generally at plain value, a paper blank statement. It's always something that means something or expresses a thought or invokes an emotion within the music.
Amazing. So it's not for you, as my sons sometimes tell me, oh, Mom, it's all about the beat.
No.
No, it's definitely about the world.
It's a contrast and a complement. They have to mix and balance with each other.
Agree. And as an old hip-hop head, I agree completely.
Thank you.
I think that lyrics, I mean, for me growing up, lyrics were the most important part of the music.
Thank you.
And, you know, the beat complemented it, but the most important part was what was being said. So I love
Exactly.
that. So you've been doing this since the age of 13. I see it says here that you started to write and rap at 13 in order to cleanse your mind of the negativity.
Yes, in this world there's so much negativity, and we'll discuss about that throughout this entire segment, but everywhere you look there's always somebody that's either negative on purpose or negative indirectly, and that thing can really weigh on you a lot, and everybody needs an outlet. So I turned to writing down songs or poetry, and I've always heard songs in my head and wanted to write my own words to it. So that going hand to hand with poetry, I've always had a passion for music, and I guess it happened at a young age, but I've always been in love with it.
Amazing. And I see here also, too, that you've been performing all throughout Toronto, Brampton, and I got to see a clip from the Coast to Coast show with
thank
you
you.
performing. I told you, I stalk my guests with the Coast to Coast show, and you won 4th place.
Yes, there's so the top 5 contestants get like a press release and like a contract by Coast to Coast, and I took the 4th spot in that, so I was really proud of myself and I was happy to place within the top 5 contestants winners. It was a really good day for me. I had so much fun doing it.
This is amazing. So you've been at this for 10 years.
About, yes.
Yeah, about 10 years. So because you're 23 now and you started at 13.
Ah.
Now, one of the things that really impressed me about Malik is his, I don't want to say forwardness because that might be negative, but his fortitude and his
Ooh.
persistence.
Ooh.
He contacted me, said he'd like to be on the show. He'd like to present his work. He sent me links. I went on Spotify. I found you, KProhet, and I was able to listen to some of your work. And instantly I was interested because I loved what you had to say. But also what I loved is the way you present yourself. And I think a lot of youth could learn a lot from you in the way that you present yourself. You're very articulate. You look people in the eye. You're very straightforward and very friendly as well. And I think that's something that is getting lost with the younger generation. They seem to, I don't know if it's the discomfort of it's being used to their phones and not looking up, or they're really uncomfortable speaking to others, but I love how personable you are.
Thank
And
you.
for me here at What Matters, the blessing is to have a platform to be able to showcase the people that myself and the station feel deserve the platform. And I really have a special spot in my heart for our youth. They are the future. They
are the future.
They are absolutely the future. And because the world is changing so rapidly, I think that as humans, we're not even getting to evolve it in a generational way.
Yeah, and with each other.
With each other,
Yes,
exactly.
that's
So
exactly
there's
it.
this disconnect. So to have you wanting to come on and speak about the issues that are facing our community,
That involve that disconnect, right?
exactly, that involve
Yeah.
this disconnect. So you said you started this, you got started about 13, and you were writing down your thoughts. Now, was there a particular incident or something that was something specific that was negative, or was it the general environment?
The thing is, a lot of ways that trauma affects people is exactly how you said it, in two ways. Something specific that really affects them emotionally or psychologically, or something that happens over time to the point where there's a breaking point and now they change into a different person. For me, I can't really tell you which one it was. I'd like to go with the latter. But I grew up in around Albion and Kipling, Rexdale area, Etobicoke, and everything you see, like the area itself might not be as, as negatively portrayable as people make it seem. But if you look on the outside about how people speak about that area, that itself can have negative effects about you. Because when people don't know you, but they only hear what other people speak about, then that's all they have to go on. And they only speak negative things about you and negative things about where you are, where you're from, how you look, without even getting to know you first. And that's the problem that weighs on a lot of people. That also speaks to the disconnect, because when you have two people that don't know each other but only hear bad things about each other, they have nothing else in their brain but to dislike each other. And all that just took a toll on me. And I thought that maybe through something else, through some form of expression, I could help cleanse myself and help cleanse the people that I reach too.
Amazing. That I love that. I love that term, help cleanse myself. So for you, music was a therapeutic way to work through the environment you lived in and the way you felt you were portrayed to others.
Yes, exactly.
Even before presenting yourself.
Even before presenting myself, because you need a way of speaking, like your first impression. The first impression is the one that means the most to people and matters the most to people. It takes a million tries just to undo a first impression if you made a wrong one.
Yes.
So anything that you look, the way you speak, the way you act, the way you move can come across as negative to somebody if you don't watch what you say and watch how you move. So that's why I like to articulate and write down my thoughts to make sure that this is how I should address, this is how I should speak, this is how I should look and talk to people and look at them in the eye when I'm speaking to them. That just helped me.
And so the area that you're from, it had a negative reputation, you were saying, as
yes.
you were growing up. And what was the stereotype?
The stereotype was just that there's quote unquote a lot of like hood people, hood rats, people that don't get along, like delinquents. Because if you look at the history of it, like and it ties back into the crime rate of Toronto, a lot of things happen in the area and people only see CP24, the news, anything, and then they blame things about that area. And now look what happens. The property costs and the values go down and people don't want to live in that area. So that area stops getting funded. The schools stop getting funded. The community centers stop getting funded. And then the people that live in the area, they don't get better if those areas aren't funded because they have no more resources to elevate themselves. So that doesn't take away the crime rate, that only gives into it. Because
Right.
if people don't have proper education, what are they going to turn to, right? If you bring down any area to a impoverished place, not to say that any area is, but look what will happen. People will have something else to turn to.
So as you were growing up, was there a lot of violence in the area?
Not necessarily, and from my personal opinion that you can say is objective or subjective, a lot of things are inflated by the media because people have to make money and report something. So, like an officer that has to fill his quota by signing parking tickets or giving people speeding tickets. If they don't reach a certain quota, they get punished. They don't want to get punished, so they find whatever it takes to reach a quota. And if they reach a quota in other neighborhoods, that looks bad on that neighborhood. So they go to a bad neighborhood where it won't look bad.
A bad neighborhood where it won't look
exactly, so it won't look bad.
Where it's almost expected. Now you mentioned what you're seeing on the news, and this is something that I relate to my son because we're newer to Toronto. We're here through 2 years now.
Ooh.
And he's born and raised in Montreal. It's kind of like a little big town. And he says, well, I'm afraid to go outside. I see what's going on out there, and every day something's happening to someone. Every day someone is shot or stabbed. And what I had to explain to him is, one, Toronto is a very, very big city. There's millions of people
Literally
here,
millions.
which means that millions of people didn't get shot or stabbed or hurt today. But the news has to report on what happens. But I feel that, especially with the news nowadays, there's a lot of fear mongering. And it's this constant feeding of fear, of fear, of fear.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was growing up, and I may be dating myself a bit, but the news came on for a grand total of 2 hours for the whole day. You had like half an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. There was no such thing as 24-hour-a-day news stations. So obviously back then, they really reported on what they felt was important, but now you have to fill the space. You've got to fill the air.
Yeah.
We've got a break for commercial, but when we come back, I will be back with KProhet, and we're going to speak more on the crime rate in Toronto and what we as a community can do about it.
Oh, thank you.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to What Matters. I'm here today with...
KProhet, nice to meet you.
Amazing. So we're talking about the youth, specifically the youth of Toronto, the Black community. And, you know, one of the things we were talking about is the media and how it's changed, and, you know, how we get our news is different, and how much news we get is different. And we have social media playing into it as well, which really skews the idea of what life is for a lot of people, especially if you grew up in this era.
Inflates it.
It inflates it. You know, I saw a great meme today of a guy, and he was looking out a jet window, but then when they pulled back, he was actually at his big screen TV with the image on, and he's just looking out. And, you know, people, you can pretend a lot of things, right?
Oh,
and I think it adds to the anxiety of the youth today. But when he came in today, I said to him, I'm like, well, I see that you love anime, and I suspect you really like dogs. And he's like, how do you know that? I said, well, I went through your social media. And that's one of the things that I really want to let the youth and some of the adults out there realize is that the internet is forever. And everything you put up there, it can be found. Even if you delete it, it can be found later. There's a great site. It's called the Wayback Machine. Check it out. You can type in a website, you could type in a date, and it will show you what that website looked like on that day.
Oh.
So even if the person deletes it or takes it down, there's always a way to retrieve it. So
That's crazy.
I found it, I've learned my lesson over the last 6 months to really make sure I go through my guest stuff and know who they are, because sometimes you get some surprises. And as I was going through your social media, one of the things that I found so very cool is how positive it was. It was really positive. There were good jokes, you know, but I loved the tone, the overall tone of it, which told me a lot about your mindset and what you let in, but also to what you put out. So that was really, really an interesting thing. And am I right about the dogs, that you have a specific love for?
Oh, yes,
dogs?
I do have a specific love for dogs. My last name is Wolf, so that gives it away a lot.
So a very, very interesting young man. When we were on break, he was telling myself and Anisha what his day job is. And will you share that with our audience, please?
Oh, for sure. So, like she said before, my name is Keano. Well, Malik, the long name we went over. But I work at a group home for kids with developmental disabilities. So basically what that portrays is that there's a lot of group home section throughout Toronto, Thornhill, Vaughan area. Not so sure about Brampton as of yet, but those communities and those group homes are filled with kids and older gentlemen that have autism, schizophrenia, sometimes both, and they have a dual diagnosis or a polydiagnosis. And it's our job just to oversee their well-being and their day-to-day lives 24/7, and to make sure that they elevate their like culture of life and everything that they do, so that they can live easier lives as human beings, just like the rest of us do.
So how did you get into that?
Um, Family trade. It happened on accident, you can say. So my mom also works at one of those group homes, and she supervises a couple of the group homes. And then she's the one who tied me into the jobs. And at first, I was reluctant because it was an unfamiliar scene to me. But then once I stepped in and went through like everything that the job had to offer, I really found myself like having a general passion and love for it.
And what is the most okay, I'm going to give you two questions. What is the most surprising positive thing that you found, and also to what is the most surprising negative thing that you found working there and your experience?
The most surprising thing that I found, well, positively first, would be that once you see these people in their day-to-day lives, they are people.
Yes.
They live, breathe, eat just like you and me. They have feelings, cognitive ideas, things they want to express, things that they aspire to be. So that's in any way, shape, or form no different than any other person on this planet. And that's what made me realize that I really do like this job.
Amazing. And what did you find that surprised you that was negative?
That surprised me. This one almost wasn't a surprise. It's just stigma. And stigma can be addressed throughout any form of expression. Like people, like we said before, what people don't know, they fear and they have a certain stigma towards because that's all they hear, right? So a lot of people have stigma towards the people with developmental disabilities because they don't know them, they don't know what they like to do, they don't know anything about how to treat them or how to behave or around them. So they just instantly shy away or try to fall back and sometimes resort to negative thoughts and negative comments about them, which is totally incorrect because they don't understand what they're talking about in the first place.
And
education.
I think that some of that negativity as well is based on fear. Fear of the unknown, and sometimes even fear of the familiar. Because I used to work in a hospital for many years and got a front row seat to a lot of the psych patients. And schizophrenia, for those who don't know, it often presents in late teens, early 20s. That's when it first will appear. And it will often come out of nowhere. So your child will have been behaving normally for all these years, and then in their late teens, early 20s,
early adulthood,
you
right?
start to see the disconnect.
That's crazy.
And I've watched families. It's such a hard diagnosis. It's such a hard thing to go through. It's such a hard thing to be introduced to as a family. And as you said, that stigma, the stigma of mental illness is one that is still being fought, and I'm really glad to see how much it's changed. That, before we couldn't even talk about being depressed. It wasn't even acknowledged.
Very true.
And especially within our community, but especially within the Black community, the West Indian community, depression just isn't a thing. And, this blanket, well, she just crazy. That just blanket everything. And it even whether it was treatable or preventable, it was just this blanket. So it's wonderful for me to see a young man as yourself being involved in this type of work. And are you seeing any changes in terms of programming or funding? And so since you've been doing this, have you seen any changes in the way the patients are they even called patients when they're in a group?
Individuals.
I like that. He's like, the people, they're just people, Erica.
Yeah.
The individuals, how they're being treated. Have you seen a change?
Yes, actually, because so at the particular group home that I work at, it's a huge company that works and it's based off of Thornhill Vaughan area, and they have a wide variety of programs and a whole bunch of sponsorships that come from other companies as well. So that helps them fund the other programs that would help those kids get into what they would want to do or what they need to do. So for certain individuals, especially all along the spectrum, we have things that could improve their day-to-day lives, like making sure they get the exercise that they would want or need, making sure that they get to put their energy into an activity that they aspire for. And for individuals that like to go outside and live their day-to-day lives, we help them apply for jobs and work other tasks, anything that they would like to do just to help fund their day-to-day lives as well.
And what's the age range of the individuals that you?
A wide variety of age range. I'd say the youngest we would have is maybe about 13, and then it would go all the way to about 60, 67.
Okay.
That's what I know of so far. Back in the day, the age rate for like people with developmental disabilities would maybe be like in their 30s, but thanks to technology, 2018, we did it. You know, people just get to live longer through modern medicine, so now they're living healthier lives.
So you had 2 points, and we don't have a lot of time left in this segment, so we'll tackle the first one first. So what are some of the issues that you feel are detrimental to the special needs community?
To the special needs community, I would say the lack of education that follows with the stigma about how to treat these people and how to behave yourself around these people.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they use different terminologies and different things that may be offensive to somebody, and it's wrong to offend somebody on purpose. I mean, if you're offending somebody on accident, that can be fixed with education. But a lot of people, they don't care. They don't feel the need to help themselves and use the type of language that would be appropriate when you're addressing somebody. And that itself is wrong, because it starts with the words and how you address somebody, and then it starts with how you treat somebody and how you feel about somebody.
It starts with the words. I think that is such a powerful statement. It starts with the words. It starts with the words that you say to yourself. It starts with the words that you choose when you speak to others. It starts with your words.
All propaganda starts with words.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's one of them. So it's the willful and sometimes unintentional ignorance of the general population with those individuals. That would be the main point. That would be the main point.
That's what stops people from actually getting to know somebody and getting to know certain individuals and understanding that they might have something in common, and that if they have something in common, they might like to do certain things with that person. And sooner or later, you realize that you're bonding with this person, and then you guys have more things in common that you do have apart.
Exactly.
So then what's the point in distancing yourself from somebody if you like spending time with them and if you like the time that you're spending with them?
And so you said this was this is kind of like a family trade. You know, your mom was in this business, and that's what got you the in.
Yeah.
But for anyone else that's interested in work like this, can you tell us exactly
the routes to follow
the
to get into?
Follow, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of courses you can take. I know Humber College. I also went to Humber College, Humber Lakeshore to be specific. Shout out. There's a whole bunch of courses you can take, whether it's child and youth care worker or a DSW, developmental social worker, and those are programs that you can take just to help you get your foot in the door and then do certain interviews and processes that'll help you get the job that you want.
Amazing. So, you can climb the ladder. You can start at one place and go up, but if you have an interest in the special needs community, in our community, the individuals in the community that aren't seen always on the same level, definitely give Malik a shout. You'll find him on Facebook, you'll find him on Instagram, and he'll definitely be able to help. When we come back from this break, we're going to speak about some of the issues to the general community and what can we do about the crime rate in Toronto, because it's really going up, and we are also going to have a performance from KProhet. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anisha, and I'm the production manager of TCN Network. Have you ever wanted to host your own show? Do you have a message to share? Well, you're in luck. We are looking for dynamic and unique individuals to host their own shows. We are seeking people who are committed, motivated, and energetic. Do you want to be the next Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres, or Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved? Start here. Fill out the Propose a Show form on mytcntv.com. We're here to educate, support, and build the community. Can you lead by example? Go the extra mile and seek knowledge? Are you humble, disciplined, responsible, selfless, and enthusiastic? Those are our core values. And if you identify with them, you could be part of a growing network that focuses on positivity and uplifting our community. We can't wait for you to join us on TCN Network and hope to hear from you soon.
Welcome back to this episode
Hello.
of What Matters. And we are here today with musical artist KProphet. And he is so much more than an artist. I think you're going to definitely get your activist badge pretty soon.
Thank you. I hope so.
I see that definitely happening for you because you definitely have a passion and a lot of things to say about your community. And we will hear him rap in the last segment, and you can see why I think he's so great. So before the break, we were talking a bit about the special needs community where you work. And what I love that Malik said was, you know, I said, are they patients? Are they clients? He's like, no, they're individuals. And it's like, again, language. How you speak, the words you select really sets the tone for how you look at something. And I'm coming in, I'm saying, you know, so are these like clients? He's like, they're people. They're people that live in this building, and my job is to help them live their life the way that they choose. So just that thought, just the way you put it, speaks so much about your mindset and how much the rethinking how you think can change everything. Another topic, and this is huge. I'm now in a much bigger city than where I came from, and it does seem I don't have cable. I haven't had it for years. I'm a Netflix girl.
Oh, nice. Me too.
Yeah, I gave that up. I just don't like having things fed to me, and that's what I started. Like that, you were just.
So you started to feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not consuming. You're force feeding me, and so I click on stuff and I watch it at will. But when I go in public places, I do see CP24. That's our 24-hour news station, and it really is terrifying. I cannot lie. It is scary. This person got run over. These cars crashed. This one got stabbed.
Drove into a Shoppers.
Drove into. I think I saw that one too, or maybe
no
they're doing it
frills.
a lot.
That's what it was. Yeah, man.
And it's really scary. The news keeps telling you about all these bad things, and unfortunately, a lot of times, especially when it's gun violence, it's young black youth.
Yeah, that's what they related to.
That's what they related to. And another thing in the presentation of the news is that, you know, I really saw this a lot in Montreal, and I don't notice it as much here, but suspects would be identified by origin. Young Jamaican male, you know, Haitian man, but when they weren't black, they were just men. You know, you'd never hear an Irish man or, you know, guy from Welsh. No, that was never never the case. So, as you said, even sometimes when it isn't one of us, because that's the perception, those are the words that are used.
Yeah.
People automatically assume that it was.
It was. Very
But
true.
the truth of the matter is, it is happening a lot, and increasingly so from my understanding. Now, you were born and raised here, so you can tell me your perception of the difference.
Okay, no problem. Basically, for those who do commit the crimes and those who happen to be black, African American, whatever politically correct term you want to use for it, what happens from my point of view is that kids in certain areas don't have the means and the tools. Yes, that is a cliche term, but it's the most correct term that you can possibly use, because when a child is growing up, they need to do things. They need to be put in school. They need extracurricular activities. There's even studies in science that says that kids need an hour every day of outside activity to, one, stimulate their brain and to burn off energy, and everything that they need to do. Because what they do is that they just learned how to run around. They just learned how to ride a bike. They have no concept of money. So how do they get things and how do they get places, right? So now, for what other communities have is community centers. They have extracurricular activities. They have teams and sports teams. They have things that allow these kids outlets and things that allow these kids places to go and places to be. But the problem is now community centers, and has been a problem that people don't speak about, because I don't know if anybody wanted to talk about it or not, but community centers they're nonprofit organizations, which means that they're funded by the government, but they don't give money back to the government, or they don't give money back to people in general. And that's the problem. When you have nations or citizens or people in the neighborhood that aren't building or are seen as negative, they don't get funding, and they get cut off. And then what happens to the communities? They get no funding. They can't fund their programs. They can't fund their extracurricular activities. Some schools can't fund books for their kids.
Yeah.
So how are they supposed to get smarter? How are they supposed to go places? How are they supposed to eventually buy things? And how are they supposed to burn off energy? They don't. No, they do. They just go to other places and they do it, and they have no concept of money, so they run around. And especially in impoverished places, like I spoke before, think about how that affects the family. If the kid has no access to these things, the parent has very less access to these things. So that means the parent, A, doesn't have a lot of money to support their kid, doesn't have a lot of money to take care of their kid, to send these kids to these schools that can be funded properly so their kids can be learning instead of being outside and burning off the energy in a negative way. Idle hands.
Or the devil's workshop.
Exactly.
And it's something I've noticed that too. Again, I relate it to where I'm from. And the wealthier the neighborhood, the more free programs that were available. How ironic. So in the really nice neighborhoods where, people are doing quite well financially, the public libraries, the community centers, there would be so many programs, so many things you could do for free with your children. Whereas in the poorer neighborhoods where the children really needed it, everything either costs, or actually, quite honestly, they just simply don't exist. Watching basketball rims being taken out of basketball courts.
I've witnessed those.
And then the excuse being given that, well, they're here too late at night, so we took down the rims. Well, why not then just have some local community police patrolling at 11 o'clock to say, okay, guys, it's time to wrap it up. Let's go home. Get to know these kids and send them home safely.
And you know what that does? That also reduces stigma on how people view officers and police officers in general. Because people have a stigma towards police officers, and apparently police officers have a stigma towards children and kids in general.
I agree.
So when you put them together in a place where they can communicate and cohabitate with each other, look what happens. They'll get a better understanding. And that program that you just said was 100% the right idea.
And that's something I noticed too. Like when I see 3 or 4 young black males walking down the street, for me personally, I smile. I mean, obviously walking down peacefully. I smile. I love to see groups of young men together, having their bonds and their friendships and so forth. But what I realize, especially with sons myself that are getting bigger every day, is that for a lot of people, when they see 3, 4 young males walking down the street, it's fear. Oh, it's a gang. Hearing so many stories of, brothers, a set of brothers walking down the street and being pulled over and said, you're part of a gang. It's like, yeah, my mama's gang. Like, we're all brothers. Like, what are you talking about,
Very true.
So that, and this is something that, I'm asking the viewers as well as you and Anisha that's here. I don't know if they ever had this in Toronto, but at one point in Montreal, we had community policing. So within certain neighborhoods, there were fixed officers that patrolled the neighborhoods and knew everybody. So it'd be like, Dante, go home. Go home, or I'm going to your grandmother's and telling her where you are. And they were really familiar with the people.
Yes.
But then what happened was they stopped that, and they kept making the officers move around. So no one was familiar with anyone. And I wonder if, one, there was ever a program like that here in Toronto, and two, why is this not continuing? Like you said, that cohabitation where people know each other and they're familiar and grow to understand.
Understand each other. It helps, and it helps them work better together, and they get more of a family bond instead of a I don't know you, but I'm scared of you bond, which doesn't work, because what we just said, fear inspires, right? It inspires hatred and negativity, and all those things just promote more negativity and disconnect, which is the enemy that we're trying to solve right now.
Absolutely. So we touched a little bit on, that and the lack of funding, the lack of programs, the lack of something to do. Each one teach one, and even if your parents don't know or don't have, that community effort helps bring us all up, right?
Yeah.
Because being first generation Canadian, I know there was a lot of things in Canada my mother was not familiar with, but having a good support system, I was able to...
A village to raise a child, right?
Exactly. I was able to access so many things that were maybe just not familiar to her. She didn't have knowledge of. Now, one of the things we just spoke about, one possible solution would be a more involved, instead of a punishment access, a punishment take on policing, how about a preventative one?
Yes,
how about
exactly.
a relationship building one?
Exactly.
And that would be one of my suggestions into how to fix this. And then, as you said, more community funding to fund the communities that have these issues instead of taking it away. Give it to the places that obviously need it more. When we come back from this break, KProphet is going to perform for us, and we are going to talk about some more of the steps that we can take as a community, as individuals, adults, and young people to make this better for all of us. So we'll be right back after this break.
Thank you.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Hello, my name is Anisha, and I'm the production manager of TCN Network. Have you ever wanted to host your own show? Do you have a message to share? Well, you're in luck. We are looking for dynamic and unique individuals to host their own shows. We are seeking people who are committed, motivated, and energetic. Do you want to be the next Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres, or Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved? Start here. Fill out the Propose a Show form on mytcntv.com. We're here to educate, support, and build the community. Can you lead by example? Go the extra mile and seek knowledge? Are you humble, disciplined, responsible, selfless, and enthusiastic? Those are our core values. And if you identify with them, you could be part of a growing network that focuses on positivity and uplifting our community. We can't wait for you to join us on TCN Network and hope to hear from you soon.
Welcome back to this episode of What Matters, and I am here today with KProhet.
Wow.
And this young artist is here speaking about the issues with our youth, our community, our special needs community, how much words matter, and I find him to be an inspiration, and I'm really glad you joined us today. Thank you so much. So we were speaking about, before the break, we were speaking about community policing and community centers. Please note the word community keeps coming up because it takes a village
To raise a person.
to raise a person. And this very North American idea of, everybody living in isolation and family units just being amongst themselves, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We aren't built or made to live separate from one another, but to live together.
And build with each other.
And to
really.
build with each other and help build each other up. And what I don't know, you may know, and you could teach me, and we can shuffle the information that way and enrich everyone.
Exactly.
So education is obviously key. Community is key. And during the break, you were mentioning something else that cures for our community, things that we can do as individuals, as a group, to make a difference. And please repeat actually what you had said.
Basically, what my best guess, in my personal opinion, would be to solve problems at the root of the problem and not later at the end of the cause, when somebody is on the route to committing a crime, or way later when they're in the penitentiary. Because it's so much easier to help somebody when they're on the right path and when they're growing up and when they're still influenced by a lot of things.
And malleable.
Malleable, exactly. When they're like a blank tablet or a blank canvas, and it's easier to, shape them in the ways that benefit society, instead of letting them find other ways to feed themselves, and that might not be the most productive way to feed themselves and benefit society. They choose other things that only hurt and that don't complement society at all. So I would say help people at a young age, to give them the proper tools to what they need in order to grow healthier, instead of letting them try to figure it out for themselves, because everybody needs education at the end of the day. There's something that everybody doesn't know. And if you let people try to find the answer for themselves without helping them first, they might end up in a bad place, and that's never the right answer.
Have you thought about mentoring?
Yes. Some people may say that I may come off a little bit preachy. If it happens, I'm sorry.
Really? People say you come across. I don't find you preachy or condescend in any way.
Oh, thank you.
But when you're speaking to someone who is not secure in their knowledge, and they'll be intimidated by almost any sentence that's strung together well.
Very true.
So sometimes it's not about necessarily dumbing yourself down. You're obviously trying to elevate, but sometimes that negative feedback can come from people who are in...
that ties into pride.
Exactly. It's a pride thing.
Because people who don't have a lot of pride, or that general sense of pride, they understand that when they see someone who's like-minded, or when they see someone who's elevated, or they see someone who's at the same level as them, they string together and they mash and they mesh and they work together, and they realize, okay, you're like me, you're on the same level as me, let's go. Other people that have that pride, they see, oh, you're at the same level as me, you're better than me, oh, you're even close to being at my level. No, I'm going to distance myself and I'm going to do things my way. But that doesn't work. And that doesn't work all the time. And that only leads to more disconnect.
Well, I think that not trying to give you another job because you have a few right now, but mentoring for people younger than yourself, I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of young men especially, that need to hear your voice. And when the voice that you're listening to looks like you and sounds like you and actually knows what you've been through, it makes a tremendous difference.
Yes, definitely. That's why I like to portray through all of my music, all of my songs. I like to portray a conscious message. Man.
And speaking of which, KProphet agreed to perform for us today. I put him on the spot, and he's going to do it a cappella. I am not performing with him. That's not happening. Okay. But I would love, because I went on Spotify, and you will find him on Spotify, and listen to some of your stuff, because, like I said, I learned my lesson. And it is conscious. And it really reminds me of that old school rap where, the words really mattered, and they painted an image, and Benita Applebaum is in my head now. But, just that where you can actually see the scene unfolding in front of you, and that's what it used to do. So, you know what? Take the stage. You go for it.
Thank you. Yes, you can find my music on Spotify, Why I'm Here by KProphet. This first song I'm going to perform will be the first verse of the first song on the EP. It's called Clap For Me. So here we go, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. So, check it. Young and raised, I hope for better days. See my people from the hood, I hope you all get paid. I hope one day you make it. I hope one day you play this. I can tell you one thing, it's hope that I don't play with. See me, this visionary, but watch out my vision scary. Going off the deep end, hope I make it to the weekend. This life is out of hand, feel like I'm getting out of sequence. All the troubles in my mind, but to you it comes so frequent. Took a break for the season, now it seems I'm getting back at it. My only goal is to move up in the tax bracket. My only role is to wear my city like a jacket. Zipped up, matching jeans might get tatted. People say I'm so mean like it matters. Wouldn't you rather be rude and watch a dream shatter? But I could pick up all the pieces even if scattered. I seen you wear Jesus piece but pray backwards. Yeah, but this world ain't ready. I put you on my shoulder, say this world ain't heavy. You say life's a mess, I say this world ain't messy. I seen bigger things, I could share dreams if you let me. You gotta dream big if you want the world to sing. It's almost best advice that someone told to me. Along with life, move just how it's supposed to be. My name's KProphet, so come and clap for me and clap for me. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. And I'm going to ask the question because I don't want to throw my own opinions in
By
here.
all means.
Who are your musical influences? Who do you love?
I'll start off with my favorite artist of all time.
Of all time, I'm listening.
Of all time is J. Cole. I've been a J. Cole fan from before people were J. Cole fans, and I'm going to say that till I die. Like, from way back, Friday Night Lights. And then I didn't hear any music of him before, so I just went further back. I listened to his older stuff because I needed more music to hear from him, because everything he says is about a message, and everything he says is how to inspire people. So
I agree.
That really touched me when I heard that someone else, really just wants to help and help people.
So he is actually one of my favorites as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoy his music, and I love the message in it. Who else? Give me someone old school, and give me some. Well, J. Cole is new school, but he really does hail to
all the old school artists and everything.
And that message of respect. Really appreciating where you are in the game and knowing who you are, and knowing he's carries some weight, but giving deference. One of my favorite songs is "I Let Nas Down." I just love that. And when Nas jumped on it,
it's all about giving respect and about understanding.
Giving the respect to those people who paved the way. And in some of the more modern music, and hearing some of the newer artists, what they have to say about the old school, it's sometimes it's just unnecessarily disrespectful.
Very true.
You don't have to like everything, and I get that. Like, I understand. Like, okay, you know what? No, I didn't like so and so, but to try to tear down what they did. I mean, doing things now, like, I mean, you're Toronto born and raised, and you could definitely say the kid that comes up 10 years from now in Toronto is going to have a much easier time because of the artists who've come before, from Cardinal Official to Drake. And I remember Cardinal coming out, and there was nothing. He had like a machete cutting the path with Michie Me. There was nothing. There was just nothing.
Cool as well,
and then you come forward and you have someone like Drake, who got center stage, world center stage. And I remember at one point we had 4 Canadians in the top 10. Yeah, it was Drake, Michael Bublé, Justin Bieber, and
Weekend, maybe?
it was The Weeknd.
Okay.
And I remember where we couldn't even find the bottom of the 100 list. Like Canadians, it was Toronto. Like really a lot of props. So paving the way. So give me an old school person that you love.
Old school hip hop. I got into old school hip hop when my brother and my uncle played it often a lot, and I would say my old school influences would be Snoop Dogg easily, like his flow, wordplay, and his message. Because Snoop Dogg, although he came from that whole, like, people would call it a gang mentality, Snoop Dogg wasn't there. He was
somewhere else.
He was somewhere
else.
Exactly. He wanted to live his life.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he portrayed.
He is one person that I always said, you know what, if he wasn't Snoop Dogg, he'd still be famous. Like, he would be that old man in his neighborhood that everybody knew. Like, everyone. He was just destined to, he's a magnet. Sure. And you're right. Even though he came from that, he stood apart. Yeah. And his lyrical style, his content, and what he's accomplished over the years. I mean,
they gave him a star on the Walk of Fame.
Yes, I saw him in it was Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, yes.
As well. He has the best mean face that's ever existed in the world. I would not want to be his daughter, but that screw face, it wins all the prizes. Like, that is the ultimate what are you doing face. Like, it's perfect. So to wrap it up, again, this is KProphet. You can find him on IG as KNote95.
KNote95. My Spotify would be under KProphet. My album is called Why I'm Here. You can find the EP on all the streaming networks. If you could search it, you can find it, I promise you. I come representing the Toronto independent clothing company called Classics Apparel. You guys can find their Classics Apparel. You guys can find their hoodies anywhere on the internet. Search it up. They have some dope hoodies, and it's cold outside soon, so you'll definitely need some. Definitely need some.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed speaking to you. If you have anything to say, if you'd like to comment on the video, share it with your networks. Anyone you feel that needs to hear this message, needs the exposure, you can follow us on MyTCN TV. And next week, I have with me, and I'm always excited about this, I have a barrister and solicitor. She's a lawyer. And it's Requia. Lord, I hope I spelled her name properly. Austin. She's going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about self-care. We'll be talking about legal tools for entrepreneurs. It's going to be a great show, and I hope to see you again next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.